This is Rebecca. I am glad to be here on this Easter Sunday. I hope that those of you who are out and about enjoying time with their family are having a great time, that there is plenty of Easter egg hunting and church service attending and things like that, and that you guys are, if you eat ham, enjoying that. If not, then okay. Or if you just don't really do Easter, that you just had a good time anyhow. So, since it is Easter Sunday, I was all gung-ho to go ahead and hop on my Once Upon a Time for this week, get my little dose of Once Upon a Time for this week, and then I went onto my streaming site on my tablet, and sure as heck, what came on was not the Once Upon a Time that I'm so used to seeing around the same time on Sundays, but the Ten Commandments, which is really awesome. If anybody has never seen that, I recommend you check it out. Charlton Heston is real nice, but hold on, I'm getting my guys mixed up. Yul Brynner, yes, he is, oh dear me, just him as Ramses, and his role in the King Eye, and then later on when I saw him in Anastasia, it's like, oh dear me, that man can act, and he really does bald so beautifully. So anyhow, that's what's on tonight. So that being said, that's good for me. I can still keep on with my once by revisiting last week's episode because I was having some issues. Everything was looking pretty, but the audio was just 100% miserable, and I didn't think I'd have any opportunity to go ahead and redo it, because I thought, oh, I'd for sure have to be concentrating on this week's episode today, but hey, there's not one to be had, not until next week. So, my brother is right, I'm going to go ahead and redo the ones from last week, but I will keep the one that I originally did up in case you want to check out that killer robotic sounding voice that ended up being a result of last week's once review. Alright, so same notes, but hopefully you can hear me. And sorry about the paper. This is a tablet, so it's picking up whatever it can. As long as it's not picking up a whole lot of cars, I'm happy. Actually, with it being Easter Sunday, there's not a lot of people out, so that's good. Alright. I'm going to have to look away so I don't blind myself too much. So, we start off in Fairy Tale Land, and we have Snow White and Prince Charming, and Snow is pregnant, is what we found out like the last 2 episodes ago. Because she was talking with Maleficent, and Maleficent had previously gone to the heroes to say, hey, let's work together because we both have something precious that we want to make sure is going to be safe, and therefore we need to work together to keep this dark course from happening, from the evil queen getting her way. And basically Maleficent said, I have just as much to gain or lose as you do because I am also a child, etc. So here we are, flash forward to later on from that conversation, and we have the Charmings, and they have gone and they have touched the horn. I believe you would call that a horn of the unicorn, because they're trying to figure out what kind of future their daughter will have. I don't know how they know it's a daughter, but let's just say that. So they both, Snow and David, who was actually David then too, it gets a little confusing, but the point is, the Charmings, because we're in Fairy Tale Land, they go ahead and they touch the horn and they see 2 separate things. And so what happens is, Snow White, she sees, okay, sorry, back that up. David, when he sees the horn, he touches it, he sees a very pretty, wonderful, precious little baby girl. And he's like, yeah, I just totally know that everything's going to be awesome and wonderful with this daughter of ours. Total opposite of that, when Snow touches it, not only does she not see the little baby, she ends up seeing a teenage version of Emma, the one that we just got acclimated with at the start of the season. Well, toward the end, before they went on the break. And basically, she's having a bit of an argument. It's like, Emma's like, whatever. And Snow's like, oh, but I'm your mother. And Emma's like, oh, I don't care. And then she punches her hand forward and she rips at her heart and crushes it. And so Snow, seeing her vision, she's like, oh, she's going to be evil. And so they talk about it, but not very much. We go back into the present day. And so we're in the apartment, and Emma's asking how August is, because last episode, August had been abducted by the Queens of Darkness and by Rumpelstiltskin, and he had been changed from being a wooden boy to being a man again, and apparently he spazzed out at the end of the episode so he's still out of it, and Emma wants to make sure he's cool. Let me not get ahead of myself. It's hard to see because I'm blinding myself every time I want to look at the camera. So, let's see. Snow and David... okay, so they're concerned. They're there and they're concerned because Killian was talking about the plan, about how he heard from Ursula that they're trying to turn Emma dark. And Emma's like, oh, no, that ain't gonna happen. Whatever, that's absurd. And her parents are kind of on the weary side because they have an idea of how things could turn out if things go wrong. So the Queens, we go to the Queens and they're like, where's the page? And Regina shows them the phone because they're still trying to go ahead and set up the ladies. They're still trying to make it so that Regina can be a spy and break into the organization, trying to figure out what's going on, be a mole, etc. But, so while she's in the apartment, they're talking. They're like, okay, so how am I going to keep these guys, interested? How am I going to keep them, I can't just give them the page. What am I supposed to do? Then I'm like, oh, yeah, okay, I can give them a fraud page, no problem. Well, what are you going to do right now, sort of thing. So Regina, she pops up, and she got her phone out, and she's like, hey, this right here, this is, I don't have the page, but this is the next best thing. So she shows that to the Queens and to Rumpelstiltskin. And then, and the big, ooh, really hard to see. Okay. And then the sorcerer. Okay. So, Regina or Rumpel, not sure which one, they said that the sorcerer had imprisoned the author in the book. And Maleficent said, don't worry about... Okay, so they were talking about, how we're going to keep the Savior from Bunny and this and that. And so Moses is like, don't worry about her. And so she has something for them, especially for her to keep her out the way. So then, we switch on over to Emma and Hook, and they're talking about Booth. Hold on, August Booth? Yeah, I think that's what it is. Okay, they're talking about August, and they're like, August Wayne Booth, I'm pretty sure that's what it is. So there's like, don't worry about that, I'm just concerned because, I was always a person which I guess is why I can identify so much with this show. Basically, she was a person who was always, her family life was just non-existent because she was an orphan and she was stuck in the system, and she had a very hard time trusting people, letting people in. Apparently she had, and she says this, let somebody in when she was in her formative years still, but that went terrible. Apparently it was the Ice Queen. And then, to a lesser degree, it was also with the a girl who we'll actually get back to later. And what had happened with that, well, we'll get to that later. But the point is, she reached a period where she was like, I just don't believe anything. I'm a total cynic. I don't trust anybody. Nobody has my good and... Yeah, that is very familiar. My good in mind is just about them, so I'm just gonna keep everything closed off. And so as she was expressing to Hook was that he was one of the few, August was one of the few people who could get through that line of defense that she had and help her to believe not only in outside things but also in herself, because that's what season 1 was all about. It was not only being able to believe that such a thing as magic and the fairy tales could be real, but also for Emma to believe that she had a power in herself to actually be the savior, that she was good enough to do something amazing. I love this show. I mean, really. I mean, I guess there's definitely a reason for it, because there's a lot of it that I can totally relate to, and it, like, being able to tune in every Sunday when I can, when they're not on break or whatever, it's just, I don't know, it's just nice. Plus it's Disney, and you get these little Easter eggs and stuff, and it's just, anyway, I gotta get back to this. I should stop buying myself, but okay. Alright, so, I wish there was something I could do to make that a little less in my face. Okay, so Regina showed the phone, so showed the book, friends. Okay, then we're back to talking. Oh, no. See, they were not. Anyway, they ended up, apparently they're at Emma's place. So Maleficent and the ladies, they go off to some hill. Maleficent does the sleeping curse. Everybody in the town, except for some exceptions, they end up knocked out of sleep because of the sleeping curse. So they're like, oh, we got free reign. So, there's probably a commercial. Then we came back from a commercial. They were in Fairy Tale Land. So, David is talking to Snow. He's like, hey, what did you see? And Snow's like, not wanting to talk about it, because her thing is, if she puts it into words, now, like, put it into happening, and it's like, she's kind of being it's a tiny bit on the, what's that word? You know, like, oh, I don't want to step on a crack kind of thing, or don't break a mirror, or if you, God, I'm forgetting that word. Friday 13th kind of thing. Superstitious on her part. But, you know, it's kind of understandable. It's like, that's her worst nightmare. I mean, it's interesting that was never talked about before, but I like how they're attempting to grow the characters in new directions, even if we're supposed to believe that it's been something that has been there the entire time. At least they're attempting to give us something different. So, I keep blinding myself. The guy needed help with, oh, so there's this guy, as they're walking and talking, he's on the path, he's a vendor, and his wares were in disarray, so they help him put everything together, and he mentions to them that Maleficent, in a place where there is scorched earth everywhere, and it's a cave next to this place, and the egg is there, and they're like, oh, that's interesting, it's this egg. Oh, it's like, she was talking a while back about her child, but hey, we're learning that it's just some stupid dragon who needs all that. That's interesting. He's also like, hey, if I was you, I would clear the heck out, don't go that way, go this way. They're like, oh no, if we do that, we're going to be wandering around the infinite forest. We could, be days and days before we get out of there. And he's like, oh no, there's this house, you go by, you go there, you'll be straight. Everything you need will be, figured out for you. So they end up doing that. Ooh. So they end up going there, and who should be there but the apprentice? He's like, come on in, I totally know exactly why you're here, let's go. I'll fill you in. So then we come back to, I said Rapunzel, but I totally meant Rumpelstiltskin. Gee whiz. Okay, so Rumpelstiltskin and Maleficent, they're making a deal. Maleficent's like, hey, I need to get what I want. I'm going to give you this page. You're going to give me what I want. I'm just trying not to drink so much water on camera. Boy, I need it though. Alright, so they're like, okay. I'm willing to make a deal. And she's like, okay, here's what I want. You know what I want. I want to know exactly what they did to my child, those heroes, those darn heroes, after they took them from me. And then that way I can have my proper revenge. And I think he agrees. Okay. So so the thing is, now we have David and we have Snow still in the present, and they are talking, and they're like seeing how Snow's like saying, I'm getting tired of all the lying and stuff. If we don't watch out, if we don't do better, we're going to be ending up being part of the cause of why Emma turns to the dark side. And boy, David and Snow, they something with something. Oh, I'm so sorry. I just cannot seem to figure all this out. Cunning, running. Oh, so Henry's running away with the book because the bad guys, they had come on in to the apartment, and they're like, hey, you're wrong. The page isn't here. And Regina's all like, oh, it couldn't have up and walked away itself. And Rumpelstiltskin alluded to, well, it could have if somebody, ran with it. So basically what had happened was that those people who had already been exposed to the sleeping curse, which was Snow at the very beginning of season 1, that's actually how that started. She was kissed by her true love, and that curse was broken for her. But then also it was Henry and David in season 2, because it had to be season 2, because at the beginning of season 2, Emma and Cora, spoilers, but it was the beginning. Oh, still kind of spoilers. I'm saying Cora. Sorry. Emma and Snow. They had fallen into, I believe it was the Mad Hatter's hat. And I ended up putting them into Fairy Tale Land after the curse had already happened. So it's basically the same time as the present as Storybook. Pretty sure that. Boy, it's like I say it just doesn't sound right. And so they ended up trying to figure out how to get back to their own home and such. Oh, and so what had happened was people who had the sleeping curse found out that they could connect, like, on some kind of level in a dark and abysmal kind of dream world. So Henry, how did he end? Oh, he had been under a sleeping curse because at the end of, spoiler alert, seriously, if you haven't seen this series at all, don't listen to this part. Like, skip like a minute or something. Just, I'll give you a thumbs up in case you're doing the YouTube thing when I'm clear, okay? Alright, so basically, Henry, on that last-ditch effort to get Emma to finally believe, and this is the end of season 1, he had taken a bite of the apple tart, which did the sleeping curse. And the whole idea of the end of that was that act of love finally is what Emma needed to see that everything he has said was totally true. And it gave her what she needed to go and be the savior after all. And let me make sure that there's no other spoilers in that. Well, okay, so that's why he was in sleeping, hadn't been on her sleeping. So he was good. And thumbs up. Okay, so Henry and Snow and David, because David, spoiler for season 2. So if you haven't seen season 2, don't, okay? Going to give you thumbs up when it's okay. Alright. Or 2 thumbs up so we're not too confused. Okay, so here's spoilers. So part of this communication barrier was, since Henry wasn't able to go in because the effect of being in that dream world was just taking too much out of him, David decided that he was going to be put under, because he figured that he could go ahead and communicate. But the problem with that was there's nobody on his end, since Noah was stuck in fairy tale land, who could give him his true love's kiss to pull him out of it so that he wouldn't totally be lost. So, okay, so back to here, which is season 4. Henry and David and Snow, they were all up and about. Everybody else is passed out because of the sleeping curse. Oh, did I finish one? Oh yeah. Okay, so we come back from commercial. No one, dang it, no one near, but, oh, so, Regina is like, nobody's going to go near Henry but me. I'm going to go talk to him. And there's this really great line. She said, if you have a problem with that, you can take it up with one of my fireballs. Nice. So, Henry calls the Charmings. Now, this is also this really good line about how, I think that comes up later. I think I wrote it down. Alright, so he calls the Charmings, and he tells them where they are, where he is. He's at the mansion for the sorcerer. And they're going to go and go to him. But they're also talking, the Charmings. And David's like, you know what? I think the thing that we need to do is just go ahead and destroy the page. That way we can ensure that nothing's going to happen. Sorry for the dust. To make it so that Snow doesn't turn evil. So we gotta burn this page. So what if the author goes up with it? But what we need to do is protect our child and her bright future. Huh. That's interesting. Alright, let's see here. I think that's the #1 problem for these guys this episode. We kind of made them a little less likable. But understandable because, yeah, when you're a parent... Well, okay. Granted, I don't quite know firsthand what that's like quite yet. But, in theory, I know a few things. At least from what I've learned from TV and movies. And what people say. And what I would like. But, anyhow. And I am a daughter, so that's something, maybe. Alright then. Okay, so there's a talk about good and evil. Okay, in the past. The apprentice, they're talking about good and evil and free will. That's the apprentice is talking about. Snow White wants to ensure that the child will be good for the child's own good. So she thinks. And so he's saying that all magic comes at a price, so what's going to have to happen is I can't just vanquish all the darkness from your child. What has to happen is I need to have a blank slate, just like your child is, to act as a vessel for this darkness to go to. Okay. And then, yeah, I said that. So, maybe I should just stare it this way and not at the light, because every time I do that, I'm blinding myself. Okay. Another thing. So, vessel, I said that. Snow figures. Gee. Okay. So, Snow's like, hey, the egg's just egg. It's just going to be, dangerous and evil, just like its mother, just another dragon, just another monster. Like, not a child, really. Not a child. It's just an egg. So, yeah, we should go ahead and we should find that egg. And so that way, all the darkness can go to the egg. Because it's not a child after all. It's just an egg, no problem. And that'll totally work because we can't just use a person or something because that would be, like, wrong and unheroish. But some stupid, like, this egg right here, yeah, we could totally do that. Let's do that. So they go off. And then we go to we go to the present, and Henry's at the sorcerer's mansion, and there's a light that starts to come out from under the page. Well, actually, out from the crack in the door in the page, a magical light that shines up on a nearby desk. So Henry pulls open the drawer, and he finds a key. And just after he does that, the door opens up. He's like, "Grandma, Grandpa," and it's Regina. And just right after Regina pops in, the lovely ladies pop in, and she's all like, "Hey, I was supposed to do this by myself. I told you, da-da-da-da." And then they had this great line, and I just blind it myself again. Another Henry, Gina. We're not sure you have... Oh, yeah, this is a good one. Okay, that's good. We're not sure you have it in you to be a true I'm missing up this good quote from, I think it was Maleficent. She said, "We're not sure you have it in you to be a true disciplinarian." And it's so funny because, Regina's like, "Henry Daniel Mills?" It's like, oh, it's a stereotypical, "You're in trouble now, I'm using your middle name" kind of thing. But it's like, that's endearing. I just love that the people at once can use that and totally know they can. And that there'll be geeks like me who think, "Yeah, isn't that right how they do it? Oh, I've seen a lot of TV. I know that that's what usually means they're in some hot water." Okay. So Henry gives... Oh, I wish I had some of those transitions. Lenses, that'd be really great right now. So, Henry gives Regina that page. And we go to commercial. And then we go back. And we're in the fairy tale land. And it's about Maleficent's egg. And basically, Snow and David, in the fairy tale version of them, they have into the cave. They're trying to get the egg. They see it all decked out. They're like, "Let's grab this." Of course, the dragon is there. The thing has been resting on the dragon's tail, which is Maleficent. They're like, "Oh, this isn't real." She's like, "Oh, but my child." So I was like, "Oh, this is evil." But then something she says, does strike a chord. Something Maleficent says does strike a chord with, Snow. And so she does say, finally, for one, she acknowledges. She doesn't just say this or that or it, or la-di-da-di-da, all this stuff to try to make it so that he is, that the egg is just an egg, right? She spent all that time dehumanizing this poor child so that it could meet her purposes. But now she's all like, okay, I'm gonna bring him back. So she starts to get that, like, she can relate to Maleficent, but not enough to not. Unfortunately, she put her needs and her desires ahead of that, because even though she now recognizes that this is... Sorry, really loud neighbors. I don't know if they're coming or going. Coming. Okay, so what they notice is that she kind of acknowledges it as a person, which is good, but not enough to leave him alone and try to figure something else out, which is bad. Oh. Alright, so... So the egg, and they grab, and I'll bring him back. So, Snow and David, they come on in. Daniel. Oh yeah, Daniel was the guy that Regina was in love with. That's interesting. I don't know why that didn't occur to me last time I did this, but yeah. So, and Henry was her father. That's nice. I really like how she did that. Alright, let's see. So okay. So Henry's like, oh yeah, Regina was here, all the posse, they're gone. So I went ahead and gave him the forged copy. My mom gave me this look. I didn't notice, but hey, I was trying to write things down, so maybe that was part of the problem. And I totally knew that it was all a go to just go ahead and give the fake one over. But hey, I found this key. Let's go ahead and let the author out. And Dave was like, oh, no, I don't think so. That's not a good idea. Because, again, he's trying to burn the page. So he stops him, but he won't let him know why. So, Rumpelstiltskin, when he had told the ladies to follow Regina, before Regina met with Henry, he had slipped off to do his own thing, and so he ended up going back to his shop, and there was a sleeping bell on the floor. What was she doing where she was on the... Well, okay. Anyhow, so, and then, that's interesting, because the Will Scarlet wasn't there. That's interesting. They really don't like to use... I mean, apparently he's getting paid, so good for him, the actor. But, yeah, he really isn't in anything. Probably later, maybe. Or maybe we can get into Wonderland next season. That wouldn't be terrible. I mean, if they can put one of the Wonderland people in, why can't they put in some more? Okay, again, I am just trying to get past these spots in my eyes. I'll be sleeping. John. Oh, okay. So, basically, Rumpelstiltskin is saying to the unconscious Belle that he's amassed a lot of debt, and the only way that he can make up for it is to have the author change his past, but he fears that something else is changing him, or changing things. But I think technically changing him. I think my predictions about how he's actually going to end up turning good, aside from his better judgment, it's kind of funny to say it like that. I understand where he's coming from. He's coming from a place of being fearful. He doesn't want to return to that state of being cowardice. But what he needs to learn is that his humanity and feeling is not cowardice. That's actually courage. So, anyhow. So, hi. I don't know why, but it blinked out. Probably battery's running down. So, after that, he says, if I can come back for you, then I will. And then he steps out, and as he steps out, the queens are there, and they're like, hey, what are you doing there? And he's like, that's my business. Then they're like, okay, we have the page, but Rumpelstiltskin's like, this is a forgery. And Virginia's trying to explain things, and then Rumpelstiltskin has Maleficent enact a sleeping curse on her. And, okay. And then he says, bring her to her vault. So then we go to another commercial. We come back. Last page. we're in Fairy Tale Land again. The apprentice switches the darkness from Snow's baby to the egg, to the other baby. But he says that now this vessel that you use, which is actually a child that you used, is just so evil and so dark that there's no way that I could possibly let it stay here in this world, so I need to go and I need to send it off to some place where it can't do any harm to anyone ever. And he makes the portal happen, and just as he's making the portal happen, who should pop up but Ursula and Cruella de Vil. And they're like, what's going on? And oh, Maleficent's child, etc. And Snow's like, oh, I didn't know, etc. Because he didn't say anything about having to send the child away. Only that he was going to transfer the evil and make it so the potential, technically, I can talk about that later. Okay, so basically where we're at now is the portal is getting wider. The ladies are about to end up falling in with the egg, but meanwhile the egg is hatching and a little baby foot is starting to break through and come out, and Snow sees that and she's like, oh my god, it is a child, I was totally wrong, and now there's nothing we can do. Because what I forgot to mention is that the apprentice had said, because this is the apprentice, the sorcerer we haven't met yet, had said, well, unless he is really the sorcerer but he's faking out like he's not, regardless, he has said that once this spell has been enacted, it cannot be modified or changed or taken away or anything. It's just going to happen, and that's it. And so guilty conscience. Snow has finally developed, because she was just so in. Oh, she was just so in denial. She was so a river in Egypt for a minute there about the humanity of that of Maleficent's child. I mean, she didn't even listen to herself when she said him. So, let me see. Apprentice. Terrible. Oh, so Snow's like, we've made it's a baby! We made a terrible mistake. So we got a present in Storybrooke, and it's, David wants to burn, baby, burn! And Snow's like, oh no! And she's talking about how back when Regina had pulled her heart out just after she had caused the death of Regina's mother, Cora, how it had darkened, but she figures that no, not causing the death of the mom wasn't what had darkened it. It must have been dark from earlier, from when they had done that tragic thing to Maleficent and Maleficent's child. So they continued to discuss, how do we do right, not what's... Oh, and then she says, heroes do what's right, not what's easy, which is a nice line. So, what happens, I think I missed this, but earlier when they were talking, before they went and saw Henry, maybe I did say this, but I'm going to say it again, because it's very important to keep in mind. Emma is saying that, what if we're the reason, what if we're the thing, are lying and sneaking around, is the thing that sends Emma over the edge, turning her dark. So, now, Snow finally gets through to David. They both talk to Emma. Emma is just, so we don't see them actually sitting and talking, but we do see her reaction after they tell her. She is furious and disgusted, despondent, just all kinds of not having a good time right then. And very much in despair, and then then Snow says, but I'm your mother. And Emma says, I don't care. Kind of thing. So, That's kind of interesting because that definitely bookended with the premonition that Snow had found. So now it's basically stealing for Snow that yes, she is going to turn evil, and yes, she is. Not only that, but she's the reason why this is happening. So Rumpelstiltskin have or Owl. I think I mentioned that already. Oh, it's hard to see. So Hook and Emma, Hook says that August is okay. And then Emma asks, why did my parents send me? And they're like, oh, they didn't think that you'd want to talk to them. And she was like, oh, they're right. And then we go to Cruella. No, Fairy Tale. And we're in the nursery. And there's a mobile of little tiny unicorns. As Snow White is having a total it fit. Because she's all like, oh, I can't believe it, they're unicorns. So we just had all this crazy stuff going on with unicorns where now I had this vision, and I'm not really going to go into any detail about the vision, but it's just, oh my god, and I can't believe it. And then we had the thing with the egg, and it was a child, and oh my goodness, and for her to remind us of this terrible, terrible thing. But then they start talking. Oh, and apparently that was from Cinderella, the gift that they received. So basically Emma and David resolved to be better. They were like, we screwed up miserably, so from now on the only way that we can make amends for how bad we acted and the terrible things that we did to another person is to be the very best us that we can from now on. And so then Snow's like, oh, okay, then maybe having these unicorns as a reminder is a good thing. It's going to remind us that we need to keep being better, and we can't just forget about what happened. We need to always remember it and learn from that, which I think is a healthy way of looking at things, because we're not always going, like, people aren't always going to make the best choices ever. And those of you who do, more power to you. But I know me, I'm flawed. I'm not, walking, talking Jesus, that's for sure. Because he's the only one I know of who's perfect. Me, not anywhere close. Which is interesting because a lot of the, I think that's what makes a lot of, current superhero things that want to use that Jesus thing kind of boring. Because it's like, I don't need a Batman Jesus, and I don't need a Superman Jesus. I need Superman to be Superman. I need somebody who's got flaws other than just kryptonite. That'd be great. I mean, part of what's supposed to make him so super is that he is super in the context of what super means. Above? But how can you be above being human if you don't know what it's like to be human also? It's like this whole idea of growth. You can't have roots and then a stem and a stalk without seeds first. You have to experience, a plant has to first experience being a seed before it can experience being a plant. So same thing with Superman. He needs to experience, and that's the whole point of him. I gotta say, I actually totally don't get what's about the father and okay, let me just say this. It makes more sense with the Smallville kind of thing, where you see that he was the average guy, and in this time of being average, he has discoveries that he's not as average as he thought. But for you to be able to appreciate and to follow and to be able to feel something for this man who discovers that he's not as average as he thought, you have to see him being average first. If all you see is him being awesome all the time, it's just over your head. It's just like, okay, he's awesome. good, but how am I supposed to relate to that? So this kind of makes these two characters, Snow and David, the fact that they made a mistake and that they're feeling the need to, what's the word? They're kind of, oh, I forgot the word. Okay. Basically, to try to rectify their previous mistake, that this very costly, dangerous mistake, they're trying to make, oh, what's the word? They're kind of sacrificing all their tomorrows so that they can atone for their past. They're sacrificing all of their tomorrows so they can atone for their past. They're like, we need to devote our time to being heroes, which makes it so rewarding for me, the viewer, because we've always seen, so okay, maybe this does tie in with previous seasons, because we've always seen them being heroes, and them being heroes, and them being heroes, and them being heroes, but they didn't start off that way. So hold on, actually no, let me take that back. Present, after they figure out who they are, we've seen that they're the heroes, and we've seen them at a point where they're kind of the heroes, and we've seen them on the road to being heroes, and we've seen them when they weren't heroes, because we've seen how Snow was a total little spoiled brat of a child, and we've seen how David was just some farm boy who was like, as we were introduced at the beginning of season 4, totally cowardly and just like whatever, and it's like, I just know how to herd sheep, that's it, kind of thing. And so, okay, I kind of like this. This really does give them reason to actually be the goody two-shoes and have the hope that they have, and it does kind of reinforce what they've been saying all along. As when they, let's just say this, when they became self-actualized heroes, when they finally got their memories back, and then were able to get each other back, toward like the mid-season of season 2, from that point all the way till just we never questioned that heroism ever until this start of this arc with the Queens. So that's a good 2 years of the Charmings of Storybook being heroes and only being heroes. Well, hold on. 2, 4, no, 1.5 years. Okay, the point is, they're heroes, but now we get to see why. We get to see why they're so gung-ho about being heroes, and that's endearing. That's really nice. And it just gives me more hope that the Rumpelstiltskin is going to find a merit to being a hero, that he is going to turn around his ways and finally see that yes, there is some reason to do this, and that it's not always good being bad, for lack of a better thing to say. I know, I went and rambled, sorry. So, we go back to present day, and Maleficent is there, and she's like, hey, you owe me. He's like, oh, no, I don't. You didn't get the page. That was the real page. But she's like, oh, well, etc. I still need to know. So, he's like, oh, no, you don't, because what's going to happen is it's going to take away something you need. And she's like, oh, all I have is pain. You gotta tell me. You gotta tell me what happened. So he goes and he looks at this, I forgot to mention this rattle, which has been this thing, because she had it when she was talking to Snow. Hold on. Where did Snow have it? No, she must have had it. Okay, the point is, it's a little rattle from the baby. It was in the cave. They had bumped into it on their way to go get the egg. And Rumpelstiltskin is able to do some magic on the rattle and find out a pretty little picture, sorry, a little scene. And he's like, oh, keep in mind this was 30 years ago, and it's a baby being adopted. And then he's like, oh, her name is Lily. And it's like, OMG, oh my god, oh my goodness, whatever way you do that. I like, oh my god, that's me. That was Emma's best friend for a spell there. When Emma was trying to run away from the man, and she ended up meeting this chick, very similar to how she ended up later meeting Neil, who was her baby's daddy. They were at the store. There was some little shoplifting thing going on. Granted, Neil and Emma met while stealing. She was trying to steal his car that he stole, kind of thing. But they had that time together where they were shoplifting. So apparently that's like how Emma liked to hang out and have quality time. I've never done that. Okay, one time, and I was like 4 years old, and for some reason I picked up a piece of candy. Again, 4 years old, so possibly 5. So it's like, I didn't know what I was doing. But ever since then, I've never had that kind of thing happen. So, thing is, Emma's best friend, who they later had a falling out because Emma found out that she was adopted and that wasn't just her being stuck in the system like she was. That is Maleficent's baby! Oh my goodness! I mean, wow. They're really good. Oh, let's gonna go one more time. They're really, really good at linking, and there we go, linking everything together. And then it's funny because Maleficent's all like, oh, I wonder if anybody knows my baby. And Emma does, and I totally need to, I can't wait to see how this works out for next week's episode. And then if she's going to end up coming back, because right now she's in a world about magic, so, like, whatever, but does that mean if she does ever end up in Storybrooke, that since they have magic, that suddenly all hell is going to break loose? I mean, I hope not. I'm hoping what's going to happen is Maleficent is going to somehow be able to find Lily. And it's like, how is Lily supposed to even come in there? Because they need to have the Ice Queen's squirrel to be able to come in. It's like, I have no idea how they're going to work this. But I'm totally eager to find out. So Emma sees August, and he has a page and a key. And August starts to talk about, because they're all ready to go ahead and let him out the page. But August explains, hey, the author is not a man, it is a job. There have been several authors throughout the eons, all the way back since caveman days. And it's not only a job, but one that has been appointed by the Sorcerer and the Apprentice. They are the ones who make the authors and also control the authors. And so what had happened was, and then he also says, I love this. He was like, great, all the way to a man named Walt. And I'm like, freaking Disney, yes. That is so cool how they incorporated this. So the fact that they're like, oh, Walt Disney was an author. It's like, I'm sorry. That deserves a proper ovation, standing one. Oh, that's great. Okay, so. But he's like, the problem with this particular author, the one that is the most recent author, is he not only he didn't do his job right enough, or maybe did too well. He was just supposed to experience what was going on and record what was going on, but he felt the need to manipulate things. And so they have a flashback to the fairy tale land, and what happened was this guy is writing a book, and the prince comes in, and he's like, oh, I did what happened, and I switched the babies, etc., the powers from the babies, and then the apprentice ends up trapping this author in the page. So, okay, so, Okay, so they go ahead and they let the man out of the page, and who should it be but the peddler? Oh my, the guy who they had ran into, the guy who had told them about the egg in the cave, and here he comes out of the page, and he's the author, the one who wrote possibly this book, the one that they've got all these questions for, and they say, we have so many questions for you, and he smiles and pulls down the lamp rod, the curtain rod real quick, and runs the heck on out of there, and Emma tries to follow him, and he's gone. And that is it for... Oh, my computer is so silly. Alright, and that's it for the best laid plans. So, ideas or comments, or let me see, anything I haven't speculated about now that I don't have to worry about being blinded. Let's see. Basically, we've got... Okay, let's... I wish it was a little fresher. We've got Snow and David and Emma, and that's an interesting triangle right there. I definitely think that Emma's going to finally, stop being a twit, because 2 reasons for this. She has, like a lot of the characters in this series, been growing as a person, and so just like how it wouldn't make any sense for Regina to suddenly go back to being evil, even though Rumpel did, but Rumpel is just a character all in his own right. And again, I think he's finally getting, like, something about having his spoiler alert, if you don't know anything about season, I want to say 3, I want to say it was 3. If you don't know what happened to a character named Nil, let's just say that, don't watch past this point. And I'm going to give you, oh, I'm going to give you a hooray for when there's no spoiler, okay? So, go ahead and skip and look for hooray. You can do it with the YouTube thing. Okay. So, Neil died. He's dead. Rumpelstiltskin has not been the same since that happened. And that definitely, because the happy ending that he so desperately wants has got to be with the 2 people he loves the most, which would be his son, who he did that entire curse for, and Belle. Hooray! Okay, so again, without the spoiler, Rumpelstiltskin wants his happy ending. They involve Belle and a special person, and that's what he's working toward. So, I'm going to figure that they're going to figure a way to make things work out differently, and it doesn't require them turning Emma evil. But I definitely see how they're going to go ahead and want to toy with the idea that maybe Emma can be evil, but no, she can't be evil. I mean, okay, so the other thing is, part of the reason, at the start of this, there is this, I don't even remember what it's called, but it's a big gargoyle collector of souls thing that's even in Kingdom Hearts. Or is it 2? Chernobyl? No, not Chernobyl. Anyhow, the scary thing, it came after Emma, and they're like, because she is the queens were like, she has the greatest potential for darkness. But duh. And the only reason why she does is because she's the lightest. That, no brainer. The only way that you could have the potential for, because if you were say this is all the way, if you were halfway dark, you only have the potential for being halfway darker. So, and if you were like, you know, like 70% dark, you're only gonna have potential to get 30% more dark. But they went and they erased all the freaking darkness. So in her, she has the most potential for darkness. But that doesn't automatically mean she's gonna be turned dark. I think again that this is gonna have more something to do with Lily coming back into the picture than Emma turning dark. If anything, hopefully they can figure out some kind of like friend. Not, I don't know about True Love's Kiss. I mean, there's a lot of people who would like to see it go that way, where ladies are, having lady time. So it's possible they could go that route, or just some other kind of way. I mean, if they can have True Love's Kiss between lovers, and a true love kiss between mother and son, then I'm sure there's some way to have True Love's Kiss some other kind of way and possibly break whatever's going on with Lily, and then therefore make it so that Emma's darkness comes back, but it's not in any kind of way that it's too unmanageable. Because that's the thing about doing anything at us, Emma, is that she manages, she survives. She had 28 years before things hit the fan with Henry coming to find her. And that's not a spoiler, that's the very first thing. Like, within 10 minutes of the first episode, Henry comes knocking on her door, going, I'm your kid that you set up for adoption 10 years ago. But the point is, she's a survivor. She, in a big way, I mean, she succeeded. The only other time that she, besides the Ice Queen and Lily, okay, something about Lily popping up might kind of shift things to where it looks like Emma's going to lose it, and that might even go all the way through till next season. That's going to be my theory on that one. But ultimately, heroes are going to come back. Oh, something I forgot. Snow White was saying that courage is heroes. It's about having courage and being kind. And we forgot to be kind. That's when she was talking about to David about the mobile that Cinderella had sent to them. And what I mentioned in my last attempt at this, which was actually a lot more streamlined, so I really wish my audio didn't fail on me, but she was saying that they forgot to be kind, and it's like, I'm like, thank you. I am so glad that they put this nod to the Cinderella movie in there, because the fact that Cinderella had given them this mobile, and how she's saying a hero needs to have courage and be kind. And basically, I have not seen the Cinderella movie, because I just don't get out to movies very much. But I do like to watch critics talking about movies. And so I happened to see the sibling rivalry with between Doug Walker and his brother Rob Walker. And they were talking about Cinderella, and that was kind of the theme, and that's what everyone kept saying. They kept saying, and it was great that they actually said that, and it referenced something to Cinderella, that all she could do was, give him this mobile that at first seemed like such a awkward and terrible gift, and then ended up being the symbolism, the symbol for them being better people. So that was kind of interesting. Well, I think I've rambled and blinded myself enough. And yep. So definitely looking forward to next week figuring out what's going on with everybody, with Lily, how she's gonna end up popping back into the picture, and excuse me. I guess he's already got this plan, because Rumpelstiltskin, he was out in New York for like 6 months, so he could have possibly looked this up before, because he's the guy who likes to calculate. So it's very possible he already knew this and did something about it before, so that's going to be interesting. I'm also interested to see if there's any progress toward Rumpelstiltskin turning light, and if there's any progress toward Emma turning dark, and how those two correlate with each other, because there's definitely got to be, this isn't accidental. There's got to be some kind of between Emma and Rumpelstiltskin, because in the entire series, it's the one who's been the real sign of light has been Emma, and the one who's been the real sign of dark has been Rumpelstiltskin. And so for them to come somewhere and meet, I definitely see that happening. And then for Lily to come back, and again, my idea is that they're going to figure out how to keep the darkness at bay, and how everybody's going to end up with their happy ending, just what they wanted. Even if that means that Rumpel's happy ending is going to be acceptance. Hopefully. We'll see. And then it's just, give us some new people. Give us some new bad people. I mean, I was a little bored out of my mind with Neverland, but I did appreciate how they give us some new bad people. That was nice. And Peter Pan was surprisingly evil, and that was thrilling. So I'm hoping that they can continue on, because it's nice having known baddies, but it's even better having the unknown come. And there's so many Disney villains to work with. It's not even... Alright, I'm going to have to do some editing. Alright, so that was my camera going off twice. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. Can't wait for next week. Thank you very much for all of you who are kind enough to check out this recap and ramble session for Once Upon a Time Season 4, Episode 17, The Best Laid Plans. And see you next week. Bye.